The sheriff's SUV sped down the gravel road to my ranch, lights flashing like a storm warning, kicking up dust that choked the air. My dogs howled, the horses bolted, and I stood on my porch, coffee mug in hand, watching the chaos unfold. It was the fifth time in 2 months those deputies had invaded my land, me, private, hard-earned 40 acres outside Willow Bend. Each visit was the same tired story, a complaint from the Pine Hollow Homeowners Association, accusing me of having broken some regulation I'd never enrolled in. I wasn't a part of their bloody HOA, never had been, but they weren't here today to negotiate. A deputy approached me, hand fluttering near his holstered gun, and slapped a citation in my hand. "Mr. Harper, we have complaints of unauthorized building noise, infraction, and non-conforming fencing. You're being cited." A citation on my property, the property left to me by my grandfather, far from their neatly trimmed lawns and gated egos. I glared the deputy down, the crumpling paper in my hand. I'd had enough. I was suing them to court. And when I prevailed, they'd pay for each second of this harassment. That instant, everything changed. But to see why, let me take you back to the beginning. Because this battle, it was never about a shed. I'm Jake Harper. 45, a man who built his cabin with his own 2 hands on a vast piece of land just outside Willow Bend's boundaries. This land belonged to my granddad, and when he passed away, he willed it to me because I was the only one who'd leave it untamed, untouched by developers' greed. No subdivisions, no strip malls, just pine trees, open sky, and quiet. Next to my land is Pine Hollow Estates, a cookie-cutter subdivision with paved driveways and an HOA who thinks it rules the world. The HOA at Pine Hollow was loud, proud, and full of people who'd scowl at an out-of-place blade of grass. I wasn't one of those, and I didn't care to be. Trouble began when I completed a tool shed behind my cabin. A humble thing of wood and nails close to the east fence. 2 days passed, and I saw a man and woman standing on the other side of my boundary line, arms crossed, staring like they'd just stepped out of a country club. The man extended his hand. "I'm Victor Grayson, Pine Hollow HOA president. This is Ellen Pierce, vice president." I didn't shake. "You're on my land," I said. Victor smirked. "Your shed breaks our community rules, height design, and it's too close to our green belt." I laughed. "This isn't Pine Hollow. I'm not in your HOA." Ellen clutched her tablet like a shield. "Our maps indicate your property borders our conservation buffer, which makes you subject to our regulations." That was the match. I instructed them to leave. But a week afterward, the sheriff appeared, quoting unauthorized building. I presented him with my deed, my permits. He departed apologetic. After that, they returned. Noise complaints for operating a chainsaw during noon. Then my goats got too close to their fence. Then my barbed wire was threatening. Each time I remained calm, had the deputies coffee, and sent them away with evidence I owed the HOA nothing, but it was wearing me down. The 5th visit broke me. My niece Lily was visiting from Austin, a 10-year-old who loves horses and apple slices. We were in the yard when the sheriff's SUV screeched in. Lights blazing, Lily screamed, dropping her apple as the horses scattered. A deputy leapt out, barking hands where I can see him. I shielded Lily, fury boiling in my chest. The HOA had called, claiming I was with violent animals and hoarding wood for unauthorized buildings. It was ridiculous, depicted me as some militia crazy pants. I instructed the deputy to leave. Sheriff Tom Bradley, a good man caught in this debacle, appeared embarrassed. "Jake, this is the 5th call. Perhaps speak with the HOA board," that was all. No more speaking. I was suing. I contacted my attorney, Sarah Vavon, a woman who wears cowboy boots and doesn't blink at bullies. She reviewed the citations, my doorbell cam footage, and the sheriff's reports. "Let's sue them," she said. Grinning. We filed for harassment, false reporting, trespassing, and endangering a minor. We had evidence, 5 sheriff visits, a terrified kid, and a fence line proving I wasn't under their control. The HOA didn't back down. They held an emergency meeting, but Sarah had tipped off a friend at the Willow Bend Herald. Reporters crashed their clubhouse, and the meeting imploded. Residents were enraged. Most had no idea the HOA was spending their dues bullying a rancher on private property. An elderly couple, Ed and Clara Mason, rose up and chastised Victor. Why are we paying to intimidate a man who's not even in our community? Victor stuttered about community standards, but Clara barked. You mean? Intimidating his goats, the room erupted, and a video of Ellen waving her tablet complaining about my shed, ruining the nature trail, went viral. Online folks referred to them fence Nazis and HOA tyrants, but it got worse. The next morning, I discovered my east fence sliced cleanly through, not by animals, but by bolt cutters. Worse, 3 of my goats were missing. I'd raised those animals from babies. They were family. My trail cams captured a figure at 2:14 a.m. in a Pine Hollow security polo, Victor's cousin, Derek, their self-appointed guard who drove around in a golf cart. I played the tape to Sheriff Bradley, who let out a sigh. Unless we catch them red-handed, it's your word against theirs. I moved in close. Next time, I'm calling the state police or the news. I slept little that night, jumping at every noise flashlight clutched. Then Victor went too far. At 1 a.m., I noticed headlights. A black SUV drove by my fence. Victor got out, sweeping my property with a flashlight like he owned the place. I walked out onto the porch. Phone recording, Victor, I'm recording. He winced, holding the light in my face. Drop the lawsuit, Jake. You're bringing us all down. I strode to the property line. Get off my land, or you'll be in front of a judge. He cursed and sped away. I gave the video to Sarah, who included trespassing in the suit. Then came the bombshell. Sarah discovered. Pine Hollow's nature trail and bench intruded 16 feet onto my property. They'd been occupying my property for 3 years and accusing me of infringements. We modified the suit, including land encroachment and emotional distress. Days afterwards, someone burned my mailbox. I discovered it reduced to ash, a notice taped to a nearby rock. Drop the case, or else. This was harassment. No, it was war. I released a video on the internet displaying the burned mailbox, the note, and all HOA trickery from the initial sheriff call to Victor's threats. I'm not in your HOA, I told the camera, but you've sent cops to my door, frightened my niece, and now you're burning my property. You chose the wrong fight. By morning, it had 80,000 views. Local news broadcast it, and the story blew up. Sarah added criminal harassment to the suit, and the court scheduled a hearing. Reporters descended on Pine Hollow, revealing more mud. Victor had channeled HOA money to Derek for security and purchased $20,000 ATV posted as groundskeeping at his vacation home. Ellen had authorized $15,000 in bogus landscaping payments to her cousin's business. Residents were outraged, some willing to testify on my behalf. Then the HOA files suit, alleging I defamed them and damaged community harmony. Sarah dismissed it. This is desperate, we'll smash it. But the attacks continued. Someone burgled my cabin when I was in town, kicking in the door and stealing only my computer and legal documents. A neighbor's camera captured Derek outside my location that morning with a duffel bag. I called Sheriff Bradley, and he opened a case of burglary. Then Channel 9 requested an interview. I agreed, unaware it had caught the state attorney general's eye. The following day, investigator Maria Torres called Mr. Harper. We noticed your story. Can we discuss in the courthouse? Sarah and I turned over everything, videos, reports, HOA finances. Torres was all business. This is not a civil dispute. We believe fraud and abuse of power. Will you testify? I nodded. Absolutely. The pressure was on. Someone slashed the tires on my truck. A Pine Hollow dad had warned me Victor was making threats. If the courts don't curb you, something else, will I added more trail cams and floodlights. Then out of the blue, Ellen Pierce appeared on my gate. No tablet voice trembling. I didn't know it had go. This how far? She whispered. Victor's crazed. I'll testify. She acknowledged signing false forms and viewing cooked books. Sarah submitted her affidavit, and the court subpoenaed Victor. The hearing was full. Reporters, residents, even ranchers local, cheering me on. Sarah presented the evidence, sheriff calls, videos. The encroachment, Ellen cried, admitting Victor's plots. My testimony regarding Lily's fear, the fire, the stolen goats, muted the room. The judge decided Pine Hollow owed me $300,000, my attorney fees, the 16 feet of ground, and a public apology. The board was dissolved, and the case was sent for criminal investigation. Victor's face turned white, but the tale didn't end. Victor disappeared the following day. His SUV remained in his driveway. Door-ajar wallet in a neighbor's camera caught two individuals pushing him into a black truck at 3 a.m. Several days later, a burned-out truck was discovered near my land with Victor's phone inside. No body, just ashes. Then I discovered a note stuck to my fence. "You won, but you don't know the whole game." Sheriff Bradley was grim. "This feels larger than an HOA." The state raided Pine Hollow's office, seizing documents uncovering a $350,000 dispute fund spent on hiring enforcers. Ellen swore it to be true. Then a body materialized in the Rivera man in a half-burned Pine Hollow. Polo Dental records identified it as Victor. The town reeled. The last-minute twist struck at 2 a.m. when my cabin was on fire. Flames consumed the kitchen, the water valve destroyed. I got out, but half my house was in ashes. Sarah and I tracked the plan to Councilman Greg Waller, who had signed off on Pine Hollow's land maps and accepted fees from a developer connected to Ellen's cousin. It was a land grab bulldoze out owners like me for a hidden luxury project. State police arrested Waller and others. In court we revealed everything. Emails, recordings, the fund. The judge hit them hard. $1.2 million to me, my land rights, a new cabin. Waller faced prison. My name was a rallying cry, not for vengeance, but for fighting back. Months later, I addressed a state landowners conference. "They bank on you giving up," I told the crowd. "But they don't expect a rancher with a lawyer and the truth." The applause rocked the room. Lily stops by once again, painting. No HOA on my new barn, but a package showed up last week, a flash drive with Victor's last video. Waller wouldn't let up, he said, eyes crazed. "This is bigger than you, Jake." The screen went to black.